All right, let's talk about Donald Trump just this once. So, while he was in between going from courthouse to courthouse this week, Trump actually delivered a speech in New Hampshire where he was doing a campaign rally. And I'm going to play you a clip. But one of the things he said is if you reelect me, I'm going to make sure immigrants who don't love our country don't get into it through legal means. And there's one part of it I want to highlight. I'm going to play the clip, then we'll talk about it. It's only about 30 seconds long.
To the United States. I don't think a lot of good things are going to happen. And I will implement strong ideological screening of all immigrants. If you hate America, if you want to abolish Israel, if you don't like our religion, which a lot of them don't, if you sympathize with jihadists, then we don't want you in our country and you are not getting in, right? We don't want you. Get out of here. You're fired.
He actually said you're fired. He said, I don't want to let certain immigrants here. You know he's not talking about like Swedish people. But notice what he pointed out. If you hate America, what does that even mean? What if you criticize America? Does that mean you hate it? Because you know Republicans think anyone who criticizes America hates it. But he also said, and this is the part I really care about. Oh, by the way, and he said if you sympathize with jihadists, as if that describes any significant number of people who are trying to get to America. Weird. But he said, if you don't like our religion, which a lot of them don't. So in a country of like 330 million people, founded on the principle of religious freedom, I would like to know which religion is our religion. And if you don't need to ask, it's probably because you already know the answer. It's whatever form of Christianity is practiced by the white evangelicals who make up Trump's base. Like, it's definitely not Islam. I would mention other religions, but they don't count because Trump has no idea what they are. But again, our religion, by the way, I want to make this clear. Our religion is not Christianity, because white evangelicals who like Donald Trump, they don't think progressive Christians or less fundamentalist Christians or pro-choice Christians or LGBTQ accepting Christians or Christians who challenge them. They don't think any of them are true Christians. So we're not talking about Christianity. We're talking about a specific type of it, a malignant type of it. And I know it's easy to ignore Trump's statement because he says crazy shit all the time. And I don't think there was a lot of media attention paid to that particular comment. But it is disturbing. He's saying it's okay to ban immigrants from coming into this country by legal means based solely on their religious label. That should infuriate all of those conservatives who say, I love the Constitution, because the Constitution very specifically has rules about not allowing that to happen. But of course, you know, none of those people care. They don't care if Trump wants to hijack the Constitution. They're all for religious freedom when it benefits them. They are nowhere to be found when it comes to defending other religions. If a Christian bigot wants to use faith to override anti-discrimination laws, that's fine. If a Muslim from a place Trump calls a shithole country wants to legally come to America, too bad for them, right? It troubles me that Trump frames religious minorities as basically equivalent to people who hold other abhorrent views, you know, as if not practicing our religion is the same as being a terrorist or something. Like, it would be so easy for people looking to shove people into those little boxes. It would be very easy for them to do it, because if you're criticizing America, which a lot of people, including myself, do, it doesn't mean you hate America, but they will say you do. A lot of Americans question Israel's right-wing politics and fairly point out that innocent Palestinians, including children, are dying with the Israeli war efforts. Does that mean they want to abolish Israel? No, of course not. But that won't stop MAGA cultists from saying all that. This is how conservative Christians work, though. For years, they act like their specific brand of Christianity is the only one that counts. They lie, as I mentioned earlier, with that David Barton-esque sort of history, and pretend the founding fathers were in the business of promoting their faith and not creating a framework for religious diversity. They install judges who give conservative Christian views preference over everyone else's. Or if you're Neil Gorsuch, you could lie about it so you can get the outcome you want. They draft legislation to advance their faith. And to be clear, this is not a fringe group of people who are doing this. In fact, let me show you one thing right here. Here we go. A few years, was it last year? This is last year. 1 year ago today, to be honest. There we go. Pew Research Center published a report saying 45% of Americans say the U.S. should be a Christian nation. And here's the part that is worth looking at right there, that part. And notice look at what they asked. Do you think, in the middle here, do you think the U.S. should be a Christian nation? And in the blue, right, it says 45% said yes. Next question. Do you think the U.S. is now a Christian nation? And a third of Americans said yes. And of course, the trick here is that the researchers did not define Christian nation. They just left that open. But people were like, I think they just assumed Christianity is synonymous with good. And so they're like, yeah, sure, we're a Christian nation. But when you ask them specifics about what that looked like, and I'm not going to dig into all those details right now, but when you ask specifics, like what would a Christian nation look like, they rejected what conservative Christians are selling. So yay for that. But this is why Trump can talk about our religion and just assume everyone in his base knows what he's talking about. He doesn't have to say the specifics out loud. They will fill in the blanks themselves. But what he said should be anathema to the very idea of our country. It is deeply unpatriotic to shut the doors of our country to anyone who doesn't pledge allegiance to Republican Jesus. And by the way, if a political leader in Saudi Arabia or Iran, said professing belief in our religion was a prerequisite to coming to our country, we would call that indoctrination or brainwashing or cult-like behavior. So how come Trump and people like him get a pass? Maybe that's because like 99% of the Republicans in Congress are Christian, or maybe it's because they have no backbone when it comes to condemning Trump. But again, when so many Republicans are pushing the same rhetoric, this is not just Trump saying something crazy. And I know I'm on a high horse here, but like America doesn't have a religion. It welcomes all of them just as it welcomes people who reject them all. Doesn't mean every religion deserves respect, but that religious differences aren't going to prevent someone from becoming or living as an American. And also, it's weird that Trump says that because Trump doesn't have a religion. He worships himself. And I know his comment wasn't like theological, it was just political. But it is telling that white evangelicals just don't care about any of this stuff.